Have you ever wondered what real monsters looked like? I'm not talking about the ones in movies. I mean the creatures that roamed our planet millions of years ago, long before humans ever walked the earth. We often think of dinosaurs like the T-Rex as the ultimate predators, but the prehistoric world was filled with terrors that make T-Rex look almost tame. Today, we're diving deep into a time of true, unrelenting horror. A time when survival was a moment-to-moment battle against nightmares made flesh. This is the story of a prehistoric horror that no one survived. Our story begins not on land, but in the dark, crushing depths of the ancient oceans, around 400 million years ago during the Devonian period. This era is often called the Age of Fishes, but it could just as easily be called the Age of Marine Monsters. The apex predator of this underwater kingdom was a creature so fearsome, its name alone sends a shiver down the spine: Dunkleosteus. Imagine a fish, but not like any fish, you know. Dunkleosteus was an armored behemoth growing up to 30 feet long, the size of a modern-day school bus. Its head and torso were covered in thick, bony plates, like a tank designed by nature. It didn't have teeth in the way we think of them. Instead, its jawbones were sharpened into two pairs of terrifying, self-sharpening bony blades. When it closed its mouth, these blades sliced together like a pair of giant, gruesome shears. Scientists have calculated the bite force of Dunkleosteus, and the numbers are staggering. It could slam its jaws shut with a force of 8,000 pounds per square inch. To put that in perspective, that's more than enough to bite a great white shark in half. In its world, nothing was safe. It could crush the shells of giant ammonites, tear apart other armored fish, and likely even cannibalized its own kind. Its hunting method was pure brutality: a lightning-fast lunge, an inescapable bite, and then devastation. This was the king of the Devonian seas, a true underwater horror. But the terror wasn't confined to the water. As life began to crawl onto the land, new horrors evolved to greet it. Let's jump forward to the Carboniferous period, about 300 million years ago. The atmosphere then was much richer in oxygen, allowing arthropods, insects, spiders, and their relatives to grow to horrifyingly gigantic sizes. Picture this: you're walking through a dense, swampy forest of towering ferns. Suddenly, you hear a scuttling sound. From behind a giant tree trunk crawls Arthropleura, a millipede-like creature that could grow over 8 feet long. It wasn't venomous, but the sight of a segmented invertebrate the size of a small car, with dozens of legs moving in unison, is the stuff of nightmares. It was the largest land invertebrate of all time, a giant armored crawler navigating the forest floor. But Arthropleura was the least of your worries. Look up. Buzzing through the humid air is Meganeura, a dragonfly with a wingspan of 2.5 feet, the size of a modern eagle. These weren't gentle insects. They were voracious aerial predators, snatching up smaller animals with their spiny legs. And if you have a fear of spiders, you might want to cover your ears. The Carboniferous was home to spider-like creatures called Mesothelae, which weren't as massive as Arthropleura, but were still much larger than any spider today, with powerful fangs and a predatory instinct honed over millions of years. This entire period was like a horror movie where the bugs won. Now let's move to the era everyone knows and loves: the age of the dinosaurs, the Mesozoic era. But we're not just going to talk about the T-Rex. Let's focus on a lesser-known but equally terrifying time: the late Cretaceous, in the swamps of what is now North Africa. Here, a different kind of monster ruled. Its name was Spinosaurus. For a long time, T-Rex held the title of the largest carnivorous dinosaur. Spinosaurus shattered that record. At up to 60 feet long, it was longer than a T-Rex and heavier. It was a semi-aquatic predator, perfectly adapted to a life of hunting in and out of the water. It had a long crocodile-like snout filled with conical teeth, perfect for gripping slippery prey. Its most distinctive feature was the enormous sail on its back, a structure of skin stretched over long spines that could be up to 7 feet tall. Imagine floating down a murky river in a canoe. Suddenly, a giant sail breaks the surface, followed by a head the size of your torso. Spinosaurus would use its powerful paddle-like tail to propel itself through the water with terrifying speed. It hunted giant fish like Onchopristis, a prehistoric sawfish, but it was more than capable of taking down land-based dinosaurs that strayed too close to the water's edge. In its ecosystem, it was the undisputed king, a river monster of epic proportions. It wasn't just a land predator. It was an amphibious nightmare, a creature that could hunt you on the banks and then chase you into the water. But even Spinosaurus had to be wary of what lurked in the depths. The same waters were home to Sarcosuchus, nicknamed Supercroc. This was an ancient crocodilian that grew up to 40 feet long and weighed an estimated 8 tons. Its skull alone was nearly 6 feet long. It had a broad snout and a bite that could crush bone with ease. While Spinosaurus patrolled the waterways, Sarcosuchus would lie in wait, an ambush predator of unimaginable scale. A confrontation between these two giants would have been a battle of titans, a truly horrific spectacle. The prehistoric world was a relentless cycle of predator and prey, where every creature was locked in a life-or-death struggle. The horrors weren't just the giant carnivores. They were in the very air you breathed and the ground you walked on. There were no safe havens. Every corner of the ancient world, from the deepest oceans to the densest jungles, held its own unique brand of terror. Think about the sheer scale of it all. Dinosaurus, another giant alligator relative, hunted dinosaurs in North America, lunging from the water to drag them to their doom. In the skies, Quetzalcoatlus, a pterosaur with a wingspan of 36 feet the size of a small airplane, stalked its prey from above, swooping down to pluck animals off the ground with its massive, toothless beak. The seas were ruled by the Mosasaurus, a 50-foot-long marine reptile with a second set of teeth in its throat to ensure nothing it grabbed could ever escape. So why do we call this a horror that no one survived? Because every single one of these magnificent, terrifying creatures is gone. They ruled the planet for millions of years, far longer than humanity has existed. They were the ultimate survivors, perfectly adapted to their environments. But the Earth is a dynamic and often violent place. Mass extinction events, caused by asteroid impacts, volcanic activity, and climate change repeatedly wiped the slate clean. The great Dunkleosteus and its armored fish brethren were wiped out in the late Devonian extinction. The giant insects of the Carboniferous vanished as oxygen levels dropped. And most famously, the dinosaurs, the pterosaurs, and the giant marine reptiles were annihilated by the asteroid impact 66 million years ago, which plunged the world into darkness and chaos. They were the kings and queens of their time, the apex predators of a lost world. But in the end, none of them could survive the planet's own unforgiving nature. Their reign of terror ended, leaving behind only fossilized bones and a chilling legacy. These fossils are windows into a world so alien and so hostile, it's hard to even comprehend. They remind us that our time on this planet is just a brief chapter in a very, very long story. The prehistoric world was a real-life monster movie, a grand epic of survival and extinction. The monsters were real, their power was absolute, and their world was one of constant, brutal horror. And the scariest part? No matter how big, how strong, or how terrifying they were, they all disappeared. It's a humbling thought, isn't it? Thanks for joining me on this journey back in time. If you enjoyed this dive into prehistoric horror, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more adventures into the unknown. Let me know in the comments which of these ancient monsters you find the most terrifying. See you next time.